So specifically some tips how you can survive and how you can kind of plan and maintain your cash flow. So this is where the juicy bit comes in. We've had all the theory. So first things first, plan ahead. I think I've kind of hinted on that already, but it's important to make sure that you don't just overlook something like a budget. Budgets don't take long to prepare, especially if you've got historical budgets in place, because you can often just mark them up, or you can add a percentage on for the next year and then really replicate that going forward. So once you've got that budget in place, don't just then ignore it. Make sure that you're looking at it on a regular basis and you're tracking against it, and make sure you're comparing it against what you're actually doing. So for example, you could run a budget variance report. There's some great KPIs that you could go and have a look on there and see exactly how you're tracking. Again, because you're using that information and it's all in real time, the budget will automatically and always be up to date. Also, cash flow statements. There are some great add-on partners I just mentioned that can be connected to cloud solutions, which can then extract that data and then actually form those cash flow statements for you. You don't have to do it manually. Again, you've got those add-on partners there that can really automate that for you as well. Some great solutions that are available. Float comes on the top of my head, and that can be connected to your cloud solution. You can even do some of the add-on providers like what if scenarios and things like that. So hopefully you're getting across that working in the cloud allows you to have that real-time clarity of information, and you can really start to automate almost your planning of your cash flow as long as you keep up to date with things. Okay, this is probably my favorite and my biggest tip for you. This is payment terms. It's really, really important to make sure that you're focused on your payment terms and you've analyzed them correctly and they are set, and you're not too lenient with your customers. Obviously, you don't want to be really angry with them and chase them up and have bad relationships with your customers, but you do need to be on their case. The more time that you've got your money tied up in your debtors, in your age receivables, the less time you have that in the business. So we did a analytic quite a while ago now, but it is still very relevant, and you can go and check this out on the Xero homepage. Now, you probably won't be able to see that too clearly, but if I zoom in, you can see there that if you want to be paid on 30 days, which is kind of I suppose the average expectant payment term for a small business, you wouldn't ever go really into 60 days. You may very well have less, but I suppose the average is that 30. With those analytics, you can see there that the kind of ideal payment term, taking into account the days that the customer potentially would pay you late, is actually 13 days. So that's the niche payment term. So I'd probably make that 14 days if it's me, but as you can see there, 13 days. So make sure that you choose that wisely and you're chasing up with your customers. Again, relating back to cloud, relating back to Xero, you can even get add-on partners that will connect to your Xero organization that will do all of your data chasing for you. So there's a solution for everything these days. And the more solutions that you can put in place, you can completely automate your business in effect. And it's almost running itself, as long as you're still doing the work, obviously. What we're also seeing, especially some features in these cloud packages, again, specifically Xero in this case, is what we call a cycle of innovation. So there are a set of features in Xero that can also be used to impact your kind of cash flow, because you can get payment sooner. So for example, in this particular case, the cycle of innovation, you can generate what we call a smart list. So you can, it's kind of the first start of the sales process. So you can generate a list of customers that you can use for example, proactive marketing. You then can turn that into a quote, and the kind of shining star for people and small businesses using Xero is the online invoicing. So you can send your customer out an invoice from Xero. You can also then connect up the payment services. So for example, PayPal, Payment Express, eWay, there's lots of different ones that you can connect. And what that does is it facilitates the payment via Xero. So Xero will also come back in and apply the payment to the invoice. Now, again, what we've seen is 2 years ago, it took on average around about 59 days for an average invoice to get paid. Now, using these automated features in this way and being able to facilitate payment through your accounting solution, you're actually seeing, and what we're starting to see, is that's almost knocked off up to 2 weeks off of those debtor days and waiting for that payment. Now, immediately, if you could save that 2 weeks of getting those receipts in from your customers, think about the potential knock-on effect to your liquidity and the cash that you will have in your business. It will allow you to do so much more just by those 2 weeks. Okay. Again, another thing close to my heart, working for Xero and being qualified accountant, is the accounting. So make sure you don't bury your head in the sand. That's the first thing. And as I mentioned earlier, you don't have to be tied behind a desk anymore to do your accounting. We get some great tweets from some of our users from doing their reconciliation out and about on the go. Some of them even in bed, although don't really want to see bed selfies, but they're great to see though. And because people can have access to this technology, they are able to do it. It's exactly the same as the payment services, as I've just mentioned. If you provide somebody the feature or the technology to do something, they're more likely just to do it. And again, this is exactly the same for the accounting. There isn't really an excuse anymore not to keep on top of it, because even from using your iOS device and using Xero Touch, you can do that reconciliation process even before you've got out of bed in the morning. And again, linking that back, if you keep all the information up to date, you're looking at the real-time information, and you can then plan that cash flow much more effectively. One thing never to do is to, hope you like my little ostrich there. One thing never to do, and this often happens when people, and it often happens quite a lot, is when people kind of fall into small business occasionally. So they kind of start to do, their hobby turns into their job. And before you know it, you're 3 years down the line, you're still using an Excel spreadsheet, and you just keep getting further and further behind. Don't bury your head in the sand. There is so much, there's so much advice, there's so much help out there. You can reach out to them. And again, by using a cloud-based solution, you can collaborate in real time. So you can have limited users working on platforms, again, specifically Xero, and you can look at the information all in real time. So if you do have an accountant or a bookkeeper or a business advisor, or even your wise old grandma, you can get them all logged in, and they can be looking at that data and analyzing it with you. They could be helping you plan the budget out. They can be looking at your profit and loss, and they can be giving you real time and valued advice. So don't bury your head in the sand. So as I mentioned throughout, some of the benefits from working in the cloud and helping that relate back to the information: real-time collaboration. So you've got anytime advice. You can engage with your accountant directly on the platform, so directly in Xero, and you're looking at that data all at the same time. And I think the key really for small businesses, that automating element. If you plan effectively and you do your research, there are so many areas in the business these days that you can automate, and that will save you so much time, and you can do so much more with that time. And of course, you've got some great features available which are inbuilt in Xero to analyze your data. For example, we've just recently launched the business performance dashboard, which is a great place that you can go and have a look at a lot of KPIs. Okay, don't stagnate. So that's kind of relating back to reaching out for help. You can reach out to things like crowdfunding if you're really, your liquidity and your cash flow is quite poor. Again, we've also got some emerging add-ons these days that will connect to Xero, and we'll take a look at those invoices maybe that are overdue, you can't get the debt in, and they will kind of give you the money up front, and they'll kind of chase the debt for you. So you've obviously with a percentage fee, but then they will give you that cash straight away. So it really can help with that short-term liquidity if you do have those cash flow problems. You've also got government enterprise schemes, something that the government have introduced for people excess money. They can invest it into businesses, really useful to, again, increasing that liquidity. Factoring companies, and I think the best and the key thing on this slide is really to have that advisor and mentor. You can't really, it's invaluable to have that in a business, so definitely look to get that. Okay, last but not least, that is kind of wrapping up on the presentation, but the only way to do great work is to love what you do. And I think that's a good little quote just to finish with. So you need to be passionate about running a small business, and if you are passionate, you will be concerned about entering budgets and keeping up to date with your information and not burying your head in the sand. So if you keep that, then you'll be good. So thank you.